So good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are independent distributors with Zija International, and we are pleased to bring you the Back to Basics series. This series is intended to help discover that healthy shouldn't be hard. We're going to learn about what is nutrition exactly and how you can engage in a healthier lifestyle in a way that's not boring or complicated. We'll highlight some topics that you may have no idea about how they impact your health. And they make on your well-being. Sorry about that. What should you expect from being healthier? How will you feel and why? And what are some of the biggest nutrition mistakes in our modern way of life? Incorporating the one step at a time improvement plan. We hope that you'll find living healthier what can also be living fun. So we are excited to be working with our speaker, Chris Kenny. As a lifelong student and advocate of healthy living, Chris has a deep interest in natural solutions for better health and strong desire to help others discover a path of self-improvement for a more enriching life. His background among many fitness-related activities includes a Bachelor of Science in Physiology and graduate work in the neurosciences. Having a sound understanding of the science behind natural products and how they work in the body, Chris is able to share simple descriptions about their functions in a way that helps others to understand how they are beneficial. In this series, we are simply curating information, sharing and explaining information that is out there in the literature in a way that helps people to make them in a way that helps people to make use of it for their own benefit. We are not making any specific medical or health claims. So tonight's topic, which I'm really excited about, is the North American famine. I'm really excited to learn what Chris has to say tonight, learn from what Chris has to say tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to him now. Chris, it's all yours.
Thank you, Lisa. If you guys just bear with me for a minute, I'm just going to share my screen. Just takes me a minute to set that up. Can everybody see this? Okay, so a life unlimited begins with optimum health, and tonight we are talking about the North American famine, but I'm going to explain that in a minute, exactly what that means. Firstly, before we get started with tonight's topic, I just wanted to recap a little bit from last week. And last week we tried to set the stage just by putting some thoughts out about exactly what nutrition is. Most of us kind of think about, vitamins, minerals, and all the dry stuff, and that definitely is part of nutrition, but it's so much more than that. Now, you'll recall that we talked about the fact that nutrition is multidimensional. Okay, it's not just molecular, it's mind, spirit, emotion, body. There's lots of different aspects that actually contribute to setting the stage, to creating a body environment that allows health to thrive. And basically what that means is that, and I'm going to touch again on a slide in a minute that sort of illustrates that, but what it means is that given the right conditions, that the basic physiological systems in the body, if they're healthy, the body is amazingly self-corrective. So a lot of the things that we see out there in the world with illness or suboptimal health is a result of that setting the stage and the body is not at an optimal level. Now, there are various aspects of things that we think of as being nutrition and being in good health, but essentially it really gets down to the cellular level. Healthy cells contribute to healthy tissues, contribute to healthy organs, contribute to a healthy functioning body. And we will actually, one of these sessions, we will actually devote a little bit more time to explaining what cellular level health really is. But for tonight, I just wanted you to recall some of these aspects about what nutrition is. Multidimensional, not just what you put in your mouth. So we're going to talk a little bit about something that we call the North American famine. Now, I should actually rename that a little bit and really call it the famine of industrialized nations, which is actually a lot of the things that we'll talk about tonight are things that you see kind of almost through the world now in just about all countries that have a chain of processed food supply. Fast food is part of our dietary level, and it's definitely not just Canada, United States. It's the Western way of life, really. Modern living is contributing to negative changes in our health. Clearly, something has changed. Even inside a couple of generations, we can see it visually. We can feel it. We know that, if you look at, say, pictures of families or sports events or galleries where people are gathered, if you look at a typical pictures from the 50s or the 1960s, even the 1970s, the picture looks a lot different than what we see today. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about obesity and type 2 diabetes, but I don't want to let anyone think that we're really just focusing on those two conditions in themselves. The reason that we do look at these in talking about the change in general health through the population is that they're visual and they're measurable, but they really indicate a lot of changes and symptoms that I'm going to list in a minute that go far beyond just obesity and type 2 diabetes. But definitely the change, the skyrocketing growth in those two things alone are really a very strong indication that something is drastically wrong. Now, the fact that we see widespread issues with increased incidence of metabolic syndrome, which is basically sugar metabolism and fat metabolism gone sort of crazy, gone amok. They used to call it dyslipidemia. They used to call it high cholesterol, high fats. They used to call it type 2 diabetes. But now, because these things are all affecting each other, there's a whole class of conditions that we call metabolic syndrome that you go to your doctor and ask them what they mean by that. It really is a collection of all these things that are starting to interact with each other. But we also see increased levels of heart disease, increased level of cancer, autoimmune diseases, immune weaknesses, allergies, premature aging, low energy that people complain about having, depressed mental states and anxiety, and a lot more. Now, the fact that these things we see across age, gender, ethnicity, it must be something common to all of us. And those things that are common are the diet and a sedentary lifestyle. I don't think anybody can argue that we know people are slowing down in terms of their physical activity on a daily basis. The advent of skyrocketing levels of screen time that people spend sitting looking at their phones and their TVs and their iPads, and jobs that are more sedentary in nature, even daily tasks that our grandparents used to do, or even our parents used to do, have now been automated in so many ways, or made easy for us to do, that we don't even expend energy doing those things. But the thing that we really want to focus on with our talk is the diet. Now, something has happened, and can we turn it around? Can we fix this mess that our population has gotten into? Now, remember what I just mentioned about the role of nutrition, setting the stage to create a body environment for health to thrive. And I love this illustration. In fact, I even created a personal logo based on this concept, that the healthy roots give rise to healthy flowers. And if that's such a strong analogy for our body, If our basic physiological systems are in optimal condition, if we have cellular health, if we have a cardiovascular system that's working right, a digestive system that's working right, an immune system that's working right, we're going to not show symptoms of things like diabetes and cancer, heart disease, obesity, autoimmunity, fibromyalgia, arthritis, and on and on and on and on. The body is amazingly self-corrective, and this is the goal of good nutrition, is to provide these clean routes. The nutritional famine of industrialized nations is, in essence, an excess of calories. There's no shortage of calories out there. We're in abundance. You can find calories anywhere you look. But those calories are not matched with the nutrients anymore that they need to be. There's a dysfunction of key body systems, starving cells, unsatisfied appetites because they're not getting the nutrition the body's looking for, so they keep looking to eat more. Sluggish organ and body system performance, illness. Some food choices have changed from our past generations, but so has the food quality. But generally in the past, like your grandparents and even your parents, we tended to eat more like meat, eggs, dairy, fresh food, better produce right off the farm. And some of us still try and eat that way, but there's all these other things that are thrown in there too. So many more processed foods, so much more sugar, so much more salt, refined flours. These are all contributing to the issues. Quite often, when we talk to people about nutrition, there's the attitude that you can correct your diet just with good food choices. Now, we definitely believe in great food choices. That should be the basis to everything that you do. You need to have a good diet. But let me just read something to you as an excerpt. The nutritional famine of industrialized nations. A worldwide nutritional famine, excess calories with few vital nutrients is impeding proper function of key systems and robbing individuals of optimum health. Despite having plenty to eat and eating plenty, more and more people are burdened with poor health. And this is because we're consuming fewer vital nutrients in our overabundance of food. And the nutritional famine of vital nutrients is largely the result of two factors that are interrelated. One, a dramatic decrease in the nutritional value or density of our crops. Crop depletion, basically. For example, wheat has experienced a decline in minerals. Even our most nutrient-dense crops, fruits and vegetables, are not immune to nutrient depletion. And there's a very interesting study that's being conducted right now from the University of Texas on the topic, found that 43 vegetables and fruits experience significant declines in protein, calcium, phosphorus, iron, riboflavin, which is vitamin B2, vitamin C, starting from 1950 to 1999. So this has been a long-term study that's really looking at the quality of nutrients that are coming from the soil into the foods. But that's not the only thing. That's it. The modern agricultural practice of crop modification, synthetic fertilizers, packaging, and transportation of foods that negatively affects nutrient values. Declining nutrient values are largely attributed to the modern agricultural practices designed to improve the size, the yield, pest resistance, growth rate. In other words, the crops are designed to maximize profits for the food industry rather than maximizing nutrient value for human health. So that's pretty interesting kind of thinking, that food is definitely not what it used to be. Now, the other thing that we need to consider is that the modern life that we live right now requires more nutrients than it did in, say, the age of our grandparents. And that sounds like a pretty odd statement, but it really has mostly to do with the elevated stress levels that we exist in. Even if you eat right and avoid the pitfalls of the modern diet, you probably experience a great deal of stress that sabotages these healthy behaviors and depletes vital nutrients. Hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which are stress hormones, deplete the body of key nutrients like B vitamin, vitamin C, and vitamin A. And you can quickly become deficient in these nutrients if you're constantly in a state of stress, which a lot of us are. Body systems won't function optimally when you have insufficient or deficient level of key nutrients. But we also live in a world filled with pesticides, pollution, herbicides, chemical cleaners, and other synthetic chemicals that constantly assault the body. Exposure to toxins can't be avoided. So how does your body protect itself against all the toxins it's exposed to every day? With an inherent antioxidant defense system, free radicals are generated when the body is exposed to toxins and attempts to neutralize them. So we talk a lot about vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, but I don't think a lot of the times we don't realize the amount of those things that we actually need, especially antioxidants. You can pour antioxidants into the body and still not keep up with the amount of oxidation reactions that are taking place. Cellular aging is really largely a result of cellular oxidation of those little organelles inside the cells that we'll talk about in another session. But the other thing that's really contributing to our problem is the amount of fast food that's out there and serving sizes in restaurants. More and more of us are consuming more of our calories from restaurant sources. Fast food's way too prevalent, and in many cases, it's actually a kind of a real exaggeration to even call fast food food. The foodstuffs themselves that they even begin with before they even cook it, sometimes there's very little food, high quality food product that's even in the beginning, before they even cook it. But the food preparation methods that they use destroy the food. There's high calories and low nutrients. Serving sizes in restaurants, even if you go to some better restaurants, serving sizes are even bigger than they used to be. The average, what's that I saw the other day? The average hamburger is about twice as big as it used to be 25 years ago, with twice the caloric content in it, twice the amount of fat, twice the amount of salt. The things like that are, the fact that people are, in fact, young people, I think it's estimated that people 30 and under are getting as much as 20 to 25% of their calories from fast food sources. So that's not a very good sign. The modern paradox is really that our modern life requires more nutrients, but many of us are getting less. Yes, the lifespan is the highest ever right now, but wait a minute, what's really behind that? Why do we see a higher lifespan right now? I think it's gone from, in the 70s or by the late 70s, I think average lifespan for a male was between 72 to 75 years. Now it's almost 85 years. But what we're seeing, first of all, there's two things involved. One is the people that are getting to that age right now actually grew up in an era when we still had nutritious food most of the time. But also, modern medicine is keeping people alive in conditions where, they might be getting to elderly years in numbers, but what's the quality of that life that they're living at that age? We know that, for example, in the health sector that's out there, that people are spending more money than ever on nutrition, institutional health care. The bills, or the amount of our tax dollars that go to spending on institutional health care, is higher than it's ever been. But why is that? Why is that? Because we really are we're not keeping our bodies in a state of health that we are being accountable for our own well-being. Some of it's through our fault, but a lot of it is through what we're feeding ourselves on a daily basis. So what's the answer? Where do we go from here? Well, we like to encourage, as a group, people to engage in what we call a natural health revolution. And what is that? A natural health revolution is basically a multifaceted approach to achieve the best possible health state in the body. Better diet, the right supplementation, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, and we'll talk about more in a later session. The right amounts of exercise, getting things out of your home that are toxic. So the soaps that you use, cleansers that you use, eating less processed foods, because processed foods are now, actually there's a very direct link between the amount of processed foods in your diet and your lifespan. Now, getting back, one of the points that I missed that I wanted to bring up was, yes, we are actually having living to a higher age limit than we ever have before. But do you know that the next 2 generations coming up behind us are predicted to live a shorter lifespan? For the first time ever, the generations that are coming after us will not live a longer life than the preceding generation. And this is a real warning signal. So getting back to the natural health revolution, proper cell function requires healthy metabolism, getting the right active nutrients in nature's balance. And what do we mean by that? Yeah, there's a lot of supplementation out there, but do you know that a lot of supplementation is actually toxic in nature? Multivitamins can be toxic. Vitamins in mega doses can be toxic. Because where in nature do you find a tree or a plant or a natural substance that has mega doses of vitamins in it? It doesn't exist. Nature did not intend for those supplementary, for those basic metabolic nutrients to be delivered in doses like we see in mega doses of vitamins, thousands of milligrams of vitamin C, high numbers of vitamin E, high numbers of vitamin D. Did nature really intend for us to consume foods in those balances? And when those nutrients are separated from their natural sources, then we might be removing bioactive components to those sources that we don't even understand yet. So the cornerstone, the underlying foundation to what we do is to work with a botanical that we know, that botanical science knows to be the most nutrient-dense botanical on the planet Earth. You can get just about everything that you need from one botanical, Moringa oleifera, and you can look it up for yourself, that it is the most nutrient-dense botanical. And what does it have in it? Got all the essential amino acids for building protein, vitamins, all the vitamins, minerals. But this class down here, the other beneficial ingredients, science is just beginning to understand a lot of these things, their actual function and their impact, how strong these antioxidants are in maintaining healthy cells. The plant sterols and polyphenols. It's really interesting that some doctors now, to control high cholesterol, are beginning to be aware of the fact that plant sterols could actually work better than things like Lipitor. And how do they work? Plant sterols basically just compete with cholesterol for absorption. So we're just beginning to understand the beauty of a lot of these things. And I think the more that you keep some of these, when you keep these in your diet on a daily basis, flood your body with them, you'll be so much better off. So that's what we mean by a natural health revolution. Keeping as much in your life as you can in a natural state, avoiding the processed things in your diet, trying to have a diet full of whole foods with the right supplementation on top of it. That's basically how we like to use moringa, on top of a good diet, so that's replacing the things that our food supply has lost. You can be in pretty good condition that way. So I'd like to stop it there tonight. If anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself and fire away. But we're also going to record this session that you can play back at another time if you want. But if you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and let me know. If not, then we'll pass it back to Lisa, who can close us off.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. And, that's some really great information. And we have a lot of work ahead of us as a society, that's for sure, and a lot of changes that we need to make. But I know that I started a few years ago making that change. And, Moringa Fair has been amazing for me and for my family as well. So thank you again, Chris. We learned a lot tonight and can't wait for next week. So, healthy shouldn't be hard. And there are solutions, as Chris has said, to help you with different aspects of your health and well-being. So if you're a customer or you're looking at this information for the first time, connect with the person who invited you to this series to discuss possible solutions for you. So each segment ties together. So if you enjoy the information that you learn, or you learned something new and are wanting to learn more, our next segment's topic is why this superfood moringa oleifera. So I'm really excited about that. I know that Chris is going to have some amazing information for us. And yeah, so that's next Thursday night, 7 p.m., same time. The link will be the same. And you can just connect with the person who invited you if you have any questions. So thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a great night, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll chat later, Jonah. We'll connect.
Yeah, I got some news.
What? Oh, really? Well, call me.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'll call you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.